Welcome to the Recess Life Podcast. This is the place where we explore play and what it means to get back to your inner child. I'm Louise, your host. Join me as I chat with teachers, entrepreneurs, artists, and thought leaders about how we can live a life of more play and impact. Let's get it started. Hello, everyone. It has been forever, and honestly, I have not planned this episode out very well, but I was feeling called to get on the mic and just share a little update and to check in. It has been a year, to say the least, for everyone. And last time I released an episode was January of this year, and it is now almost 2022. So a lot has happened for all of us, and a lot has happened in my life. And that is why the podcast has mainly been on hiatus. So wanted to share a quick update. If you are watching this on video, you'll notice that my background's a little bit different. I'm still in my same house and apartment. I'm in another room of my house because I got the opportunity to have one less roommate and to open up my space so that I have more of an office space / living room now. It's really nice, I have to say. I feel like I'm more of an adult now, I guess, finally. And it has also been really great because I am at home a lot more doing what is now called grad school. Yes, I just finished my first semester of a master's program. The program is called Masters of Applied Positive Psychology through the University of Pennsylvania. I am speaking to you on the other side of the first semester. It has been, I think, 3 days since my last assignment was due. And I've barely taken a breath. It feels really good to be done, really gratifying, really satisfying. It has been a really wonderful last 3 months of getting into this program. So I thought I would just take a moment to, one, share that update, but to just talk about some things I've learned in the past few months. So for those of you that don't know what positive psychology is, it is the science and psychology around human well-being and what it really takes for people to thrive and flourish. So some of you may be asking, well, what's the difference between positive psychology and regular psychology? Because isn't all psychology positive to some degree? None of it's about ill intent or bringing about negativity in someone's life, and that's absolutely true. But mainstream psychology traditionally has been about how do you get rid of the negativity in someone's life, so getting someone from -10 to 0. But then what do you do to go above 0? How do you get to a 10 in your life or someone's life? And it takes a really different set of tools and strategies to get there. It's not the same strategies for getting someone from -10 to 0. So positive psychology is all about how to make that happen. It's also about how do you create change in an individual's life or an organization or an institution by applying strategies that are positive in nature. So that could look like something preventative. That could look like cultivating positive, good qualities in someone or in an organization to bring about that change. I'm still working on how to explain this whole thing because it is not easy, as you can guess. At this point now, there's 8 months left. It is a year-long program, 2 semesters, and then a summer for us to work on our capstone project. For the next 8 more months, I will be learning about how to bring about well-being in the lives of people and the organizations I may work with in the future. And as you can guess, doing this podcast really led me here. I found that as I was interviewing my guests that I've been so lucky to speak with, I found myself wanting to get into this topic on a more grounded, academic, scientific level. And my background is, yes, I have a lot of personal experience in the topics of play and creativity, but I lack that deeper, grounded way to speak about it. And I really found myself during the pandemic being even more curious about these topics. I was seeing people in my life and people that I didn't know, some people thriving in the pandemic, some people that were struggling. Some people found ways to make the best of it. They found ways to make the best of it. They cultivated ways of being that I was really curious about. I vacillated back and forth between making the best of it and being in despair. But I was really curious as to what does it really take for us to continue to have hope and the ideas of positivity. Is positivity possible in circumstances like these? And it led me to be curious about what it would look like for me to further my own understanding and my own education and exploration in this topic. So that's what has led me here. And so far it's been amazing. And I hope that these next few months I'll be able to share some more of the learnings that I've gained from this program. It may not happen till after I'm done with the program, so don't hold me to it. But for now, I thought I would share a little bit about my own personal learnings that I've had in doing something that's completely new and different, that's changing the course of my life in a lot of ways at the age of 36, going back to school, and what that's been like for me personally. So first of all, one big thing I experienced this year was learning about that gremlin that is imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome. We've all heard about it. We've all experienced it to some degree, whether it's been starting a new job or just being in an unfamiliar situation that takes us out of our comfort zone. And I've experienced it to varying levels in my life, whether that was working with a new client, starting my new business, moving to a new city. But I never have experienced it to this degree that I did when I first started this program. I remember the first week of classes, every day crying and having these roller coaster of emotions. One minute I was thrilled to be in this program and so grateful and just on cloud nine. And then the next second have complete anxiety about what the heck I was doing there and wondering why they even let me into this program, and they're all going to find out that I don't belong here and that I don't deserve to be here. I would have those emotions and everything in between throughout those 5 days. And to be honest, I wasn't sure if that would ever change. I was really struggling with it. And I continued to struggle with it through turning in my first assignments and continued to feel that to some degree the whole semester. And how I ended up dealing with it was just letting it be. Because there was frankly no other choice. I wasn't going to leave the program. I wasn't going to not do my assignments because of it. I just knew I had to sit with this. And I knew that I would have to go through the program understanding that these feelings would come about every once in a while. I learned that for myself, I do need some semblance of external validation. We all do, but that I need at least some of that to help quell those feelings a bit. And that would come in the form of receiving feedback or grades back that were positive, and receiving feedback that I was on the right track with my assignment, and that to some degree I knew what I was talking about. That was always really helpful in giving myself some data that I deserve to be there. Of course, I would love to not need any external validation in order to get rid of my imposter syndrome, but I'm human and we all are. So I would love to work on finding my own practices around giving myself that validation. And that's something I think I'll be working on my whole life until I die. Really learning that imposter syndrome is, if facing it head on the way I did this semester. I'm really proud of the way I faced it head on, and I'm just going to expect that in the future, when I do what's next with my work or my life, that it's going to crop up again, and to maybe even look back on this episode and to remember that this feeling, I've had this feeling before, and I got through it, and I'm okay. And maybe to some degree, I know more than I think I do, even though it's really hard in the moment. Okay, second thing I really learned this year, I have typically worked best on urgency and last minuteness. The nature of what I do in my work, for those of you that don't know, I produce events which are very high stress, very induced by deadlines, because that's the nature of how events work, whether it's producing or planning an event or running an event on site. There's always, you work around urgency and putting out fires and working towards deadlines. And that's worked very well for me in most circumstances in my life and in my work. But doing a grad school program, that is not so great. Yes, we would have tight deadlines, but we were given a fair amount of time to get these assignments done. We were given time to get them done, and it was my instinct a lot of times to not start on the paper until I had to, quote unquote, start on my assignment, my paper, my readings, and that didn't serve me well in the end, because in the end, I would write the paper in a haste. It was with thoughts that weren't thought all the way through, and it wasn't something that I was specifically as proud of as I would have liked. This happened with my first couple assignments. And I found that once I started a paper earlier, I got to marinate and think through the material so much more, and to sit with my thoughts more. At times that was challenging because sitting with your thoughts and rifling through thoughts and getting them to make sense can be painful. And then making them make sense on paper, it takes time and energy to do that. And a lot of times I don't want to get into the pain of those feelings until I have to. But in the end, when I would start on a paper earlier and marinate with my thoughts longer, the experience was richer, and the paper was way more well thought out and much more of an assignment that I was proud of. So being in this program has really taught me the importance of just starting and just doing something. So I can even use this podcast as an example. I have 4 episodes that have been sitting on my computer that I have not edited or gotten out. 1, because I've been really busy with getting this program started, but 2, I have been avoiding the difficult feelings of getting into the editing process of these episodes. I really do not like editing, and getting these episodes out there is not, has been, I've had a huge block around it. So I can understand that just doing something and sitting down and doing it and letting yourself feel some of those unpleasant feelings, but to look at it as a richer experience in the end, is actually really, really wonderful. I actually don't even want to focus on the unpleasant feelings. There's sort of a tension between the challenges of moving through the resistance and then feeling good in the process. There's definitely a tension there. That is something I want to take with me into my life, even after this program is done. Sitting in the depths of something and getting it done is challenging, but so rewarding in the end. And I just want to remember that and hold on to that. The last thing I will talk about is that life has ebbs and flows. And this season of life is teaching me that more than ever right now. And right now, I am just learning that this is a season of life where it's has really extreme ebbs that I just need to accept ultimately. Typically, I love my life to have lots of friend time, time with my hobbies, even doing this podcast, dating, dare I say, having all these different balls that I'm juggling and lots of burners that I'm running in my life. And I like my life that way. It keeps me engaged and I'm excited about, I get excited about having lots of burners going on in my life. But right now I cannot do that. I can only really keep a few burners going at a time. The most major one is school, and that is taking up a majority of my time and energy. And also in investing in my classmates who are just all amazing. I'm in this program with 40 other amazing people from all over the world of all ages and backgrounds and experiences in life and perspectives. And I really want to take the time to invest in them and get to know them, because after we do this program, we may not be as in touch as we are. It's already challenging to be as in touch as we are already because we are doing this program remotely. We have to be really intentional about getting to know each other. So I really want to invest that time in them, which may mean that at times I need to invest less in some of my friendships here at home. It means that my work also looks really different. I've scaled back the work I do with my clients a lot more. And a lot of my hobbies and things that I would love to be doing on a consistent basis, like my dance classes, have fallen away a lot more. I maybe take a class once a month as opposed to every week now, and that's or once or a couple times a week even. So that is what the season of life is calling for. And it would be easy for me to get really down on myself or to judge myself for not being able to balance everything as well as I could. But if I actually look at this time in my life as a season that has particular ebbs and flows to it, I'm not as hard on myself because this isn't permanent. This is only going to be happening until August of next year. So actually, if I can look at this as not a permanent state of my life, it's actually easier for me to just give this time my full attention and my full energy. And that's what I'm going to try to do. And this is something I want to remember as different seasons of life come and go. Because after this season of life, it's going to be probably something else. And I am going to be okay with letting some things fall away for a time because I want to give certain things my all. So these are the most palpable lessons that I have had as I've started a master's program that's very intense. This episode wasn't a ton about play and creativity, but I can tell you that I am understanding levels of play and creativity that I didn't expect. And I'm understanding through doing this program that I am really curious about the role play and creativity has in the ways that we connect with each other. So a big component of positive psychology is learning that relationships are so important in our lives. And I think part of why I have been so drawn to the topic of play and creativity is that I am so curious about the ways that it connects us to each other and the ways that they connect us to ourselves. So I am really in the depths of exploring this topic more, and I will be hopefully sharing more of those learnings as I get into this program and as I rifle through those thoughts. But just know that this topic is never going away, and it's going to continue to be part of my life and this podcast as long as I'm doing it. But it's the shape and form that it's going to take is going to look different. And that's what this podcast has always been about. It's about exploring play and creativity as a lens rather than this hard and fast definition and rule of what it has to look like. Play doesn't have to be this rambunctious activity that you do. And if you don't have an activity like that, then you're not playful. That's never what I sought out to do with this podcast. So I'm really excited to explore this topic more. And I am thrilled that I took some time to share some of my thoughts with you, and really also for myself to look back on this time. I'm off to go to my parents for the holidays and then off on a little mini vacation to Southern California with some girlfriends. And it's going to be taking this time to relax and recharge before the next semester starts. And I really hope that I am sharing something else before the end of next semester. That's the hope, at least. I hope that you have a wonderful end to the year and that you take some time to connect with yourself and to connect with others in a way that really nourishes you, and that you explore your definition of play and whatever that looks like for you. Sending you so much love and happy end of 2021. Are you looking for more play in your life? Make sure you're subscribed to the Recess Life podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or any of the podcast platforms. You can also find the video interviews on YouTube. Don't forget to leave a review. Your feedback is so important to me, and it helps others to find the podcast. You can also follow the conversation on Instagram at The Recess Life. And lastly, you can go to therecesslife.com where you'll find all the episodes and show notes on each of our guests. I hope this podcast helps you to become a little more playful today than you were yesterday. Until next time, don't forget to get out and play today.